Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood, and this will be a short video today, I promise. Today I'm going to show you how you can edit your text to make it look embossed when you engrave it, or 3D. It's going to create some depth to the engraving and the character to any font that you currently have with just a quick few steps. Stay tuned. So let's not waste any time and let's jump straight into LightBurn. I'm going to grab my text tool, and for the initial demonstration I'm just going to work with the Arial black, and we're going to just put some text on here. In fact, we'll just put this will be all caps, Arial and black. That's the text font, or the font that we're using. Put that on an engraved layer. Now when you look at that, it's just very basic, nothing special about it. And how do we make that look nicer without having to go and buy anything or get any new fonts? Really easy. First thing we're going to do, in fact I'm just going to make a copy so we can do a Control D and duplicate that and bring it down here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the horizontal spacing by using this H space. That's horizontal spacing. And the value here, unlike most fields in LightBurn, this is not 3 millimeters. This is a percentage of the height. In fact, just for giggles, I want to delete that, and right now we're in millimeters, and we're going to make this 25.4 millimeters or 1 inch. And now Control D and duplicate it, bring that down. Wrong button, stupid. Undo. And still a wrong button. Undo. Now bring that down. There we go. Now that's a 1 inch font. And if I come up here to horizontal space and I start increasing that number, well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 what? Well, that's percent. That right there is 10% of the height or the size of the font increased in the horizontal spacing. So that would be 2.54 millimeters increased spacing, if I understand what I've read correctly. But I'm increasing that by 10%, and now I'm going to create an offset. Now if I go to the offset tool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the settings are in an outward direction, and since this Arial block is a very blocky font, I'm going to use the corner style of corners. And then on the options here, I want to select the resulting objects. So that's, if I highlight that, then the new offset that I create is what will be selected after I hit OK. I don't need to delete or any other of these options here. So I'm just selecting resulting objects. So, OK. Then I'm coming right back over to the offset again, and I'm doing the same. Now, and I didn't talk the distance. I did that by 1 millimeter. So to offset the initial by 1 millimeter, and I'm doing it, the new offset was also offset by 1 millimeter. So there, we're beginning to get something that's more unique, but that's just the Arial black with an offset, and it doesn't appear to be embossed or have any dimension. Well, in order to create the embossing, it's really, really difficult. Not. If you notice here, you see the little ants going, because I had that selected in the offsets about selecting the result. All I've got to do now is just come right up here to the corner of that B. Is that the B? Yep. Get the corner of that offset, and I'm going to drag that until it overlaps. Right there, I get those crosshairs. I know it's perfectly centered, and I can release and zoom out, and look what we just did. Ain't that cool? Now you have an embossed Arial black font. Now, if I drag from my right to the left and just grab any part of all of the K, that's going to get all three offsets, the original and the two offsets. Hit group, and now hold my control button. I can now shrink that down to the original size. That's slick. That's really slick. And that will work with any of your fonts that you have now. Some of them line up a little better than others, but if I come in here and let's select our font tool, we're going to start this time. Let's do comic, and we'll stay at the 1 inch, 25.4 millimeters, and I'm going to start typing comic. Come on now. Comic Sans, and OK. Now you can play with your other settings here with make it bold, make it italic, but don't forget the first thing you need to do is, well, and then because I did already have my H space, my horizontal spacing is already set at 10 millimeters. It kept that. We probably won't need to add any more, but we'll take a quick look. Select your offset tool. And now, since the Comic Sans is round, I'm going to select the corner style of round, so it doesn't try to create corners where I don't want them. So outward direction, 1 millimeter, round style, select resulting objects, OK. Select offset tool. I don't have to change anything, say OK. And now, since there are no corners to grab, I look for the highest point of any one of the letters. So like up here at the top of the M or the top of this N, top of the A right there, find the highest point and then draw it down to that second offset. And ain't that neat? That is so cool. And you can do that with any of your fonts and create a brand new font. Oh, I forgot to select it all. Select it all, and now shrink it down. Now, the smaller you get, then the less that's going to show up, because that we started with only a 1 millimeter offset. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be shrinking it down to something really, really small, then you'll need to do a larger offset initially so that when you shrink it down, it's noticeable. But this is something that's quick, easy. You can play with this. I encourage you to do it. And there are no wrong settings, because this is all creative. This is you getting to do your thing. So do just that. Jump into LightBurn, start playing with this. Increase your horizontal space, because in this, let's show you what happens if you don't create your horizontal space. Here's the original Arial Black. I'm not going to create any horizontal space right there, leaving it at 0. And if I come in here to offset, staying the same, let's go back to corners, 1 millimeter offset outward. It's already selected that new offset, so select that one and say OK. So there, it looks like that's kind of the same thing, but look here. See how the L and A have now gotten interlocking? And if we come in here and grab that lattice offset and drag it down, you don't have the separation, which may or may not be a bad thing. It might be a look that you would prefer. It still has that embossed look, but the letters are not as individualized as if it would be if you increase that horizontal space. Now, I said I was going to keep this short, and I am. But for those that have the attention span of a gnat and they've already checked out, they're going to regret not watching this. Because in LightBurn, and I've said this plenty of times, when designing in LightBurn, priority matters. Priority matters. So let's jump in and look at this situation. So obviously I have this misspelled. And I'm going to ignore that misspelling for right now. And I'm going to go ahead and go through that whole process, creating the offsets, and then changing that perspective. I did not increase the horizontal space because that's not what I'm talking about here. Once I've done that, and then I find out, oh wait a minute, that's spelled wrong. Select my text tool, and I'm going to come back in here and try and create, or try to undo, change that. Ah, come on now. I forgot to select everything. Select everything. Go into text. So I can't, it won't let me. I can grab each individual offset. Nope. So it's, you can try and get in there and get it all straightened out, but it becomes problematic. So priority matters. Get all your text correct. Get your complete layout done. If you're going to do a whole sentence or an engraving, let's do, in fact, let's just delete that text. In LightBurn, priority matters. You can have your whole paragraph set up. Increase your horizontal spacing. And right now, I've got my vertical spacing at a reduced value so that the lines are closer together. You can increase or decrease that to change your spacing vertically. But I strongly recommend doing the vertical or the horizontal spacing. Then do your offsets, your second offset. And now that you've got all of that was done in one time and one offset, you can change the perspective on that entire image by just moving that one. And they're paving the parking lot next door, so apologize for the noise. But by setting it all up, you've already corrected everything, made sure your spelling's right, and set up that whole thing. You can do an offset for the entire image twice and move it and not have to do each individual word or each individual line. You can do it as a whole. But priority matters. Okay, guys. You can do this same thing with images. It's not limited to just text. So have fun with your offsets, move them around, and that's how you can change perspective, add depth to an image, and have fun with your creations. So as promised, this one was short, and I am Steve. This is Hobo with Wood, and I'm out.